Office of Human Resources, and you have arrived at our April HR Town Hall review on Carmen Connect. I want to just do a few housekeeping items up front. First of all, this session is being recorded. Secondly, you're going to hear from me and from Marty Smith answering questions that you are able to type into the Carmen Connect session. So you're not able to speak questions to us, but if you type them in, we are going to do our best to answer questions as they come in. So if we can be a little patient, but if you have questions or comments, please do send them in when you have them. We will also try to save some time towards the end for a sort of Q&A at the end of the session. Today's review is for the interaction models that we presented in the HR Town Hall. We got a lot of feedback after the town hall that you all really enjoyed it and thought it was great information, but that you wished we could go through the interaction models a little more slowly. So I'm going to talk through that set of slides that we presented at the town hall. We have added one interaction model that we didn't get to go through at the town hall for employee and labor relations. So we will go through all of those, but that's the content that we intend to cover for today. You can feel free to ask any other questions if you like, but that is the area that we really want to be sure that we hit well. And I'll do it as slowly as we can. We'll take our time going through the slides. All right, so with that, can I just ask quickly, for those of you that are hosting a watch party in your area, can you just type into us the number of people that are at your location? Just trying to get a better idea of how many people are actually participating today. All right, so let's get started. The first thing I wanted to cover is our HR service delivery model, just to ground us in the 4 roles that we're going to cover for the interaction model. So remember that the service delivery model is built to create consistency, but also to provide flexibility so that we can provide high quality services to our leaders, staff, faculty, and other HR stakeholders. You'll remember that this square design is interactive. At the top, you'll see in unit and shared. On the side, you'll see operations and strategy. And those coordinate in a 2x2 table so that the strategic in-unit role is our HR business partner. The strategic shared role belongs to everyone working in a center of expertise. Our operational in-unit role is HR consultant, and our operational shared roles are in our services team. Supporting all of those roles is a service support team. And HR leadership is in the center. If you look at the bottom of the slide, you'll notice that we have roles co-located in the business. The HR business partner and HR consultant are, of course, in unit, as the table describes, but we also have talent acquisition consultants. Talent acquisition consultants actually live in the centers of expertise. They will be a part of the talent management COE, but those individuals will be located in units. Do we have any basic questions about the service delivery model at this point? All right, well, let's move on. It doesn't mean that you can't ask questions if you have them later, but we will get started actually looking at the interactions. So, our proposed future state HR model has a link between the college, unit, or health system area that's being supported and the HR leadership team. HR leadership will have a new role called Senior HR Business Partners. There will be relatively few of those roles, and their job is to support the HR business partners in the unit. The HR business partner and HR consultant are in the red box because those roles are co-located in each college unit, which means they are going to be physically located there. The senior HR business partner will sit centrally with HR leadership. We're working very hard on a description of the relationship between the HR business partner who is located in the unit and the college unit or health system leadership. For colleges on campus, we've had a lot of discussion with the Council of Deans about creating a shared governance over that HR business partner role so that the senior leader in the college and Susan Basso both have shared accountability for the work of that individual. There will be a direct line of report from HR business partners to human resources. There will be a line of report for HR business partners to the colleges and units. We're working on whether that will be a dotted line or some other sort of relationship. We'll have that finalized in the next few weeks. That's where the discussion stands today. HR consultants in the unit will report to those HR business partners. And as I said before, both roles are located in the unit. Any questions about that? Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about the role description for that senior HR business partner. We're using these three tag words, leadership, accountability, and alignment, as the high-level descriptors of the important work that those individuals are going to provide for the HR business partner community. The senior HR business partners will be accountable for driving strategic HR initiatives and priorities across a number of colleges or units and helping to ensure that accountability and alignment of HR services between our central centers of expertise, shared service center operations, and the HR strategic plan. Oops, now I've got to go back. How do I go back? Yes. Sorry about that. Okay, HR business partner is the next role. And you'll see we've indicated there strategy, partnership, culture, talent, change management. The HR business partner is the lead HR role in every college or vice presidential unit. It's the work of that individual to collaborate strongly with unit leadership to ensure that HR strategy, change, talent management, and culture are managed at that level. The HR business partner is going to have a great deal of work to do with unit leadership and college leadership, structuring HR from an operational perspective within that unit, but focusing their work on the strategic needs of the leaders of the college or unit and overall business of that college or unit operation. The HR consultant, execute, support, deliver. HR consultants within a college or unit are going to be the hands on the HR system at that level. They will work to make sure that HR services are executed at a consistently high quality method and manner. They will work very closely with centers of expertise and with the shared services operation. Along with the HR business partners, they're going to keep alignment for strategy for the units that they serve. All right, so let's get to these interactive models. First of all, the interactive models are examples of how various roles within the proposed future state service delivery model will work together. They're illustrative responsibilities for each role within the interactions, and it's a high-level view of those interactions that may work together. What they're not are inclusive of every interaction point between every role. They're not illustrative of all scenarios or all employee groups, and they're not a comprehensive listing of all responsibilities for roles. So we're going to go through some examples of how those basic roles can work together in our future state model. We're trying to cover the most general, most regular of those interactions, understanding that there are going to be other interactions that are required for every role. here's the first one that we talked about. How do business partners and college unit leaders work together? So you'll notice to the left we have the employee and the manager as inputs into the relationship between the business partner and unit, college, or health system leaders. So employees or managers will come in with needs for advice, needs for process improvement, needs for strategic plan or other strategic support, needs for data, any sort of needs that those two different players in the college or unit might have. And the work between the business partner and unit leadership will have the business partner providing to leaders HR advice, support from a continuous improvement perspective, leadership and development and coaching for employees and for leaders within the unit, the very specific work of workforce development and succession planning, providing data analytics and reports to leaders, helping create, monitor, execute a unit strategic plan, and providing other support requests. The college and unit leaders will seek that support from the business partner. The business partner will provide that to the college and unit leaders. And then eventually that work feeds back out to managers and employees. What questions do we have about that?
Kim, we have a question right now coming from Jadman in engineering. Where would HR associates fit into this structure, and are they considered HR consultants?
HR associates. So you might not be surprised to know that probably the work of an HR associate is different depending on which college or unit they work in today. I think what we have to look at and what we will be doing this summer are what are the specific job requirements or accountabilities of a person in an HR associate role today. That position may map to an HR consultant and could see that that person is going to provide a level of support that a consultant should provide in our future state. But depending upon the work and the way that person's used, it also might be a role that you might find in our shared services organization. It really just depends on the specific tasks that that individual is being asked to do today. And at some level, what we'll be doing is providing some support that is being provided today in a unit from our shared services organization. I hope that helps. Any other questions?
No questions coming in at this time.
Okay, well, we're going to move on to our next interaction model. And remember, we can go back to ask other questions as you feel you need to or as you think about them, maybe in comparison to other interactions. So we're going to talk about the HR consultants and HR services team. The HR services team is where our shared services organization lives, and the HR consultant is a role that, remember, is located in a unit. So employees within the unit or the HR business partner, who's also located in the unit, may both bring information, questions, or needs for support into an HR consultant. The HR consultant's role is to execute unit-based HR transactions in the future state in Workday. You all know that what we do today in PeopleSoft is going to be very, very different than what we do tomorrow in Workday. So the type of transactions that an HR consultant is going to be responsible for executing at a unit level will be different. Today, it is very much data input. In the future, it's going to be process approval, perhaps some process initiation. And we're continuing to work with our Workday partners on finalizing those end-to-end business process designs. But more generally, the HR consultant is executing unit HR transactions, supporting service level commitments, is a point of escalation for employees for issues that they are not seeing resolved through shared services, reporting data and analytics, and escalating risks or issues into the shared services organization. The HR consultant doesn't report to shared services, but they work very closely with those individuals who are providing support to employees and leaders in the unit through shared services. So you know that all of our university employees will have the opportunity to get employee self-service support through the shared service organization. Managers will have manager self-service support, and then we'll have a whole team of specialists, similar to some of the specialists that we have today, in areas like benefits, retirement, leave and absence, and employee and labor relations. The HR consultant is that individual on the HR team in the unit who will have that regular contact with HR services team members. Questions about the HR consultant role or this interaction?
No questions coming in at this time, Kim.
Okay, let's move on. This is a good one. How do employees get HR services? So if you're an employee, you live either in an academic unit, a support unit, or in the health system. You're going to have at your disposal an HR consultant. What's not shown in this interaction model is that you also have an HR business partner assigned to your unit. But as an employee, you're most likely to interact with people in the HR services team or your HR consultant. So employees interacting with the HR services team are going to go there to initiate service requests or inquiries. They're going to work on resolving issues. They're going to provide feedback on the services that they've been provided. They'll complete service requests, all of that sort of thing that's going to happen with an employee going into shared services. If you think about our moments that matter that we talked about at the town hall, that is also a place where an employee may be working directly with the HR consultant if it is something like a birth, a need for leave. You may have a direct conversation or interaction with the consultant about that, and then be executing or completing that transaction through the HR services team. The HR services team is going to provide support to the employee by completing their requests, answering their questions, and every time the HR services team interacts with an employee, whether that be an HR team member or an employee across the university, the HR services team members will be adding to our knowledge base. We have what I would describe today as an iterative knowledge base. That is, people learn things, and if you worked with one person and they seem to know how to do that transaction very well, people keep going back to them. But if that person were to take a different job, then all of the information that they knew goes with them. What we're building into our future state is a technical knowledge base, and the people who are working in the HR services team will be the primary developers of that knowledge base, so that as they provide information, answers to questions, or direction, they'll be recording that information into our knowledge base so that that and other tools will always be available to provide continuously improved service to employees. Questions about the HR services team and how they're going to interact with employees?
Looks like we potentially have one question coming in, so maybe we'll pause for just a
Okay,
moment.
that's great. I could say a couple of more things about how we're going to implement the shared service operation. We will have in the future an HR portal. Employees will be able to go in through that portal and either activate a request or initiate a request for service with the services team. They can go in and actually search for information in this knowledge base or through other online tools that will be made available on the HR portal. So there'll be a lot of ways that employees can provide information to themselves through self-service, or many ways that they can contact someone working in the services team. We will start off with telephone and an implementation through a new technology that's called ServiceNow. so that you can communicate directly with individuals on the service team. We will in the future enable chat and other types of technology so that we can have very quick and documented interactions between the services team and employees.
False alarm, no question.
Well, that's all right.
Yeah.
Let's move on. How do talent acquisition consultants and hiring managers work together? Now, part of what's interesting about this interaction model is that in many cases, this is going to be new for members of your college or unit communities. Many of you have dedicated recruiting staff on your teams today. And the way that those recruiters interact with your managers or other leaders is established uniquely between the team and those leaders or employees in every unit. In the future, the talent acquisition consultant is a role that will live in the center of expertise under the talent management work. Those individuals will be consistently trained and will be asked to operate from a recruiting perspective in the same way across campus. Now, I understand that there are many different types of roles on campus. Some of our professional colleges have very specific ways in which they recruit certain types of specially skilled personnel. So we'll take all of that into account in the working relationships of talent acquisition consultants. But in general, those individuals will be located within the unit and will have a primary relationship with the manager who is actually hiring the position. And so the talent acquisition consultant is going to provide expertise in talent acquisition. Everything from where a position should be posted, how we should attempt to recruit or build a pool for the types of roles that need to be filled, screening and interviewing candidates, creating a recruitment plan, working within our new employer brand, and that is work that is underway now to develop an employer brand for Ohio State, and then providing continuous improvement to the talent acquisition process. Importantly, making sure that we are in every case possible sourcing a diverse set of candidates for every role. The hiring manager, of course, needs to get a position filled. And so we'll work in accordance with the workforce plan that's been set by the business partner working with unit leadership. The hiring manager will be the source of requirements for the job to be filled, what role and what job work needs to be accomplished in that role. The hiring manager and perhaps even a team will be involved in interviewing. And ultimately, hiring managers are responsible for candidate selection. So you'll see at the top of this diagram the center of expertise, because the talent acquisition consultant is a part of the center of expertise, even though the talent acquisition consultant lives out in the unit. The center of expertise in talent management is going to be providing the talent acquisition consultant with rules for how they do their job. We have a number of initiatives underway in our talent management team to really create a robust and high quality professional talent acquisition presence for the university, and to provide that level of special expertise to all of our university units, not just the few that have that today. At the bottom of the slide, you see the HR business partner and the HR consultant, because they will interact with the hiring manager. During the recruitment phase, the talent acquisition consultant is the primary interaction for actually getting someone in the door, but the HR consultant and the HR business partner will have a role to play in completing that transaction of hiring and onboarding. What questions do we have about this interaction model?
No questions coming in yet, Kim.
I'll say one more thing about the employer brand. So marketing and communications obviously work very hard on the university's brand and our brand positioning. When Susan Basso came to the university, creating a brand as an employer is something that was really a priority for her. And so in addition to messaging and communications that you will see out in the community about Ohio State as an organization, we will in the future have messaging about Ohio State as an employer. You know, Susan has been heard to say, and Lynn Hillis, who is our AVP for covering the talent management work, would say that when she tried to look online for information about what it was like to work at Ohio State, it was difficult to find. And so the employer brand work is going to really be about making the brand presence of what it is like to work at Ohio State something that is much easier to find and that we can really use to attract individuals to the university. So that's a very important part of the work that the talent acquisition consultant is going to be able to rely on in the future, to really hook into that brand identity and use it to leverage candidates and really start looking at not just candidates who will apply to a posting, but do that more difficult work of sourcing candidates and going out to actually find those passive candidates who might not know that their next job is to work for Ohio State, but we're going to be there to tell them that it is. All right, let's
pause for a question.
Got a question.
It's a very good question. Coming from Amanda Smith, are the talent acquisition consultants responsible for recruiting for every opening within the unit, or will their focus be at a certain level and above?
That is a great question. The talent acquisition consultant role as it's being designed would be able to work with every role in a unit. Now, of course, you think, how many roles is that? And how could one individual be responsible for all of that recruiting? So part of the work that we're doing this summer will be to figure out just what the recruiting workload is for all of our areas around campus and how to match the talent to that appropriately. But we also have some other tools that are being developed in the talent management space. One of those is what I'm going to call today a high volume recruiter. So if you have an area that has a large amount of turnover in a regular set of expertise, think custodial workers, food service workers, maybe even student employees in some places, there will be different approaches to the recruitment of some of those roles across the university. And so there may be additional support for that. But you're in the typical roles within a college or unit that associate roles or regular program manager kinds of roles. And of course, you all know as we're working on a career roadmap, we'll be getting better definitions of what we're actually looking for to bring people into the university. But most of those roles, including faculty roles, the talent acquisition consultant is going to be able to support. I'll make one further mention about faculty recruiting. Faculty recruiting for the university will continue to be owned by the Office of Academic Affairs, where we, as a human resources organization, are going to do a better job supporting that group is to take some of the mechanics of sourcing and managing an interview process and leverage some standard processes, tools, and behaviors to support faculty as they conduct faculty recruitment. So the talent acquisition consultant may be involved in recruitment of a wide variety of roles within a college or unit.
We have one more potential question coming in. They're typing right now.
That's great.
So the question is, while this isn't illustrative of all interactions, how do you envision the relationship between the HR consultant, the HR business partner, and the talent acquisition consultant?
That is a great question. So in this particular design, I think we're showing the HR business partner as having the higher level interest in a particular hire, the HR consultant having their hands on the execution of the hiring process and working to support the HR manager in that. So if we start with the HR business partner, that's the individual who has worked with unit leadership to design a workforce plan for the organization and to say these are roles that we're going to hire this year, and to give that direction to the HR consultant that they should be expecting that hiring managers are going to come forward to hire certain positions, and that is already contemplated by the unit leadership. The talent acquisition consultant is going to get information from the hiring manager. It is time to hire this particular role. That talent acquisition consultant is going to work with the HR consultant to say, yes, I'm starting a recruitment for this role. Make sure that that is not news to them. And then the talent acquisition consultant's work is with the hiring manager from that point on. When you get a candidate who is now a final approved candidate back in, that handoff is going to be back to the HR consultant to completely execute the hiring process and to begin the onboarding process. Does that help? And that's only one way that they could work together. They're depending on the various types of hires. You know, I described what would be a typical staff hire. If you were looking for someone who is a senior executive within the organization, there might be a slightly different path. The hiring manager in that case may actually be the dean or may be an associate dean. And so the HR business partner may be more directly involved with supporting that search, interacting with that executive. The talent acquisition consultant may be working with an outside firm to assist with that recruitment, depending on the level. So it can get more complex. This is the most basic form of this potential interaction. All right, this is the one that we did not show at the town hall, the employee labor relations consultant and how they are going to work with employees. So I've mentioned before, and we talked at the town hall about the fact that we are creating a new center of expertise for employee and labor relations. Today we have central teams both on the university side and at the medical center in employee and labor relations, and those individuals are primarily responsible for negotiating and managing our union contracts and for investigating issues that through our policy rise to the level of that central team being responsible for investigations. In our future, and those individuals are the central folks, and then out in every one of our colleges and units, there's at least one person, and in many of your cases, several people who are asked to perform the work of an employee and labor relations consultant within your unit. In the future, we are going to pull the people who are doing employee and labor relations work for the entire university into one center of expertise. We're working very hard on the sizing of that organization right now, and the employee and labor relations COE is a part of the pilot that we will do this summer. So employee and labor relations consultants in our future state are going to be that centrally sitting center of expertise team who are providing services to every college and every unit and the health system across the entire university. And employees, because an employee can bring a complaint through employee or labor relations at any time, may come and see a consultant directly. They may go to their manager directly. They may also go to any other of a number of places that are not shown on this interaction model. Employees could take complaints through our anonymous employment line. They could take complaints directly to the Office of Legal Affairs. They could go directly to the Office of Academic Affairs. They could go to the Office of Compliance and Integrity. In the not too distant future, they could go to the Office of Institutional Equity. There are many, many ways that an employee can bring a concern in the employee and labor relations space forward. What we're showing on this slide is that the employee chooses to go either to their HR consultant in their unit or to their manager that they are working with every day. The employee would have that interaction, and then the HR consultant or manager, whichever of those individuals receives that complaint, could bring it to the employee and labor relations consultant. From there, the consultant is going to be responsible for the handling of that matter. They'll be determining whether or not an investigation is warranted. They would conduct fact-finding. They would provide advice back regarding performance management and improvement, corrective action, all the way through termination. So the employee and labor relations consultant is really completely accountable for the issues that are brought forward from an employee through the HR consultant or through the manager. Now, when it comes to implementing the recommendations of an employee and labor relations consultant, they're going to have a more dedicated relationship with the manager or with the HR consultant in the unit to make sure that whatever resolution has been prescribed is actually carried out. And that's what you see in the circle here between the employee and labor relations consultant and the manager. There's also a circle and a role for the HR business partner. Depending upon the level of the issue and the individuals who are involved, the business partner will always be apprised of employee and labor relations issues and may have a role in helping to manage or implement the required or suggested recommendation or outcome.
Kim, on that point, we have a question coming in. I think it relates really well to your last couple of comments. So the question is, if the manager brings the issue to the ELR consultant, will the HR consultant know about this issue as well? Okay,
I'm going to provide a little information first before I answer that question. So you are aware, all of you are aware, that employees might bring a complaint about any individual. If the manager is bringing a complaint forward to the ELR consultant about the HR consultant, then the HR consultant is not going to know what the issue is. If, however, the manager is bringing that complaint to the ELR consultant because that's where it belongs, but the HR consultant can provide support to it, then the HR consultant may regularly be apprised of those issues. The ELR consultant, because that individual is sitting centrally, needs to maintain that working relationship between the HR business partner and the HR consultant in the units to facilitate actually gathering information and executing on any recommendations. But ELR consultants are always going to take the approach that involves the fewest number of necessary individuals in handling any investigation or outcome. Generally speaking, HR consultants are the closest hands on the HR team to the employees in a unit, and the expectation is that they would be of assistance in managing the execution of recommendations from the ELR consultant. I know this is a new one that we didn't share at the town hall, so I really would appreciate if you all think about this later and have more feedback. Tom Ramey is, our leader in the employee and labor relations area, and we really would love to get feedback from any of you if you would like to share it. And certainly you can email me or Marty with further questions about how the new COE is going to operate. Like I said, we are going to have this new COE be part of the pilot this summer. And so we will be learning a great deal about how a center of expertise will operate a little bit differently in providing the support to campus than it occurs today. And certainly we will be learning from experiences this summer and refining the approach as we get into next year.
Kim, another question's just come in from engineering. Is there a COE for compensation? And how does that work with the HR business partners and HR consultants?
That is a great question. And yes, compensation is a part of the Total Rewards Center of Expertise. Compensation initiatives are certainly going to always be shared between units and our central shared services operation. As we get further through the career roadmap process, we'll see that the rules of the road on setting compensation are going to be greatly supported by the career roadmap methodology and then Workday as a technology. So we'll be creating with Career Roadmap a complete listing of all of the job categories and classifications for the university. And they'll all be attached to a market-based set of compensation markers. Through Workday, we'll be able to, when you're going out to hire a position, pull down the appropriate band for compensation. And then in the future, which occurs many places today, it will be the HR consultant or HR business partner in the unit that is and working with the talent acquisition consultants, setting the band for compensation that we advertise, and then making a final compensation determination as we hire. And then, of course, going through the AMCP process or any other process, whether it's promotion with promotion and tenure, where there's going to be adjustments to compensation. Those rules will be there. And the goal is to make it easier, faster to set compensation and make those decisions so that every decision doesn't have to come back to the compensation COE. We'll work a lot more on how those working relationships will be managed as we get further into Career Roadmap. And I think those are great discussions to have with Rob Prisbury as he continues to have his monthly Career Roadmap phone calls.
Potentially another question coming in.
It's okay. We'll take it. We showed this slide at the town hall for the proposed future state HR model. And I just want to remind everyone that we've color-coded this to correspond to where the roles live within our service delivery model. But if you look at the AVP for Talent, Diversity, and Leadership, that's our talent management bucket of work. And if you look straight down that entire column is work that today is in talent management and will be in talent management in the future. Where those specific roles are going to live is what is indicated by the different colors in the key. So those roles that will be considered to be part of the Center of Expertise in Talent, Diversity, and Leadership versus those roles that will be in the services team but still performing work in talent management. The same is for total rewards, which is next to that, and that's where you can see compensation, leave, wellness, health and welfare, retirement, all as part of the centers of expertise. But all of the operational pieces of implementing a total reward structure is a part of the services team. Similarly for employee and labor relations, which is our newest COE. And then on the ends, on the left, we have the business partner structure. And on the extreme right, the shared services team for core HR, as well as the support team. So this is the structure that you should expect to see starting in a week when we begin to place the new role titles and descriptions on the HR Transformation website. All right, well, I'm going to use this as our time to have wrap-up questions. So anything that we've talked about, what questions do you have?
New question that came in. Kim, can you explain a little bit further how all of the changes you've just talked about really impact the medical center and their service center?
Oh, well, the simple answer is it will impact the medical center and their service center in the same way as it's going to impact everyone else. The medical center's human resources team is a part of our operation for human resources for the entire university. If you look at this future state model, you'll see Senior AVP for HR Wexner Medical Center listed, and Senior HR Business Partner role, HR Business Partner roles, and HR Consultant roles. Those roles will exist there the same as they do on campus. There is a talent acquisition, talent management structure at the medical center. Those roles will fall under the AVP for talent diversity and leadership, just as they do on campus. The same for total rewards. So there's a compensation team at the medical center that is a part of the Center of Expertise as well. Same for employee and labor relations. The employee relations consultants at the medical center are on the same team as the employee relations consultants on campus. And then the shared services structure, we are this summer starting a pilot for our shared service center operations. We are starting with 3 units, but by the time we have fully moved into our new model next year, the 11 service center operations that we have on campus today will become part of this one shared service operation for human resources. And that includes the medical center team.
All right, Kim, we have another question. When can we anticipate to see more about the roles and interactions that are specific to the service center?
Well, we will have the titles for all of our roles beginning to be populated on the HR Transformation website as early as next week. Certainly by the end of June, all of our titles in the HR model will be out on that website, and our goal is to have all of the full position descriptions for each of those roles on that site as well within that time frame. So go to the HR Transformation website, bookmark it, and check it every week. There will be a lot of great information there starting next week.
I think I need a little bit more clarification on the last question. Is it finalized version you'll post, or there'll be more changes later? Is that specific to the roles that you're asking?
Well, let me try to start answering it this way. What we're going to post first are the titles to the roles. So talent acquisition consultants, for example, might be the title. And then a brief description of what that role is responsible for, the work that role is responsible for performing. We're going to get all of those posted immediately. And then as we work through Career Roadmap to complete a full position description for each role, we'll be adding those position descriptions to the roles. So the roles will not be changing. You will get more detailed information about the titles and roles, but we're not going to be changing the roles once they're posted. So I hope that helps clarify that.
Question regarding process. So the question is, will current employees need to apply for these new positions?
We are, as we talked at a high level at the town hall, still working on our workforce transition model. We do have the intention that we will have a number of roles that are selected and many roles that are open to an opportunity for expression of interest. And then there will be some roles that we post and complete recruitment for. Which roles are going to fall into which bucket we have not yet defined, but as soon as we do, we will be sharing that. It is certainly not the case that in general, everyone's going to have to reapply for a job.
Okay. Have you considered what the criteria will be for honoring the first, second, and third choices of current employees?
Yes, we are actively considering what that criteria will be. We did share a brief list of that criteria in development at the town hall. And I refer you back to that deck, which is on the website, to take a look at that. We are continuing to refine that as part of our approach. I think certainly interest first is, critical, and then the ability to actually perform the roles in the job, qualifications for the position will be two of the things that we certainly look at, but they won't be the only ones. And once we have finalized that approach, we will be sharing it.
And again, question about process. If folks want to express interest in roles, who do they express that interest to?
That's a great question, and that will be answered when we roll out the expression of interest process. So there's no one for you to express interest in a role to today. We are not at that point in the process yet, but as soon as we are ready to start talking about the specific rules around that, we will be sharing first the model and then the steps for how everyone can engage in the expression of interest process.
Can you also go over again who are expected to be physically relocated to OHR this summer or in January of 2020?
That is a really good question. So only individuals who are participating in our pilots this summer are potentially being relocated to the third floor of Gateway. There may be a few individuals who, between the start of the summer pilot and the end of this calendar year, are relocated to Gateway in support of operations like the Employee and Labor Relations Center of Expertise. The majority of individuals that will be moving to the third floor of Gateway here this summer are individuals who are going to be part of the beginning of our shared services center. No one else is planned to move to the Gateway operation. If any of you have visited, and I encourage you to visit if you haven't, you'll know that our space here is finite. And the goal is to move our HR operation to more acceptable space elsewhere on campus by the end of calendar year 2020. That is a goal. It's not yet a firm plan. We are continuing to work on that. But until such time as we have additional space to accommodate the entire HR team, no one else will be moving to Gateway.
Yeah, Kim, back on the expression of interest process, there was a question that was more specifically directed towards Med Center employees and whether or not they will be expected to go through the same expression of interest.
So the expression of interest process will be open to all HR employees. No one's going to be required to go through the expression of interest process. If you are not interested in participating in that process, that it's not going to be required. It's going to be an option. So there are a number of individuals who will be selected for roles, and there will be a number of positions that are posted publicly and go through normal recruitment. And then there will be a large number of roles that are open to expression of interest. But it is up to every individual to decide how they will, take that opportunity up for themselves. It certainly will be an opportunity for medical center HR team members.
Kim, a question back to your earlier comments regarding that process of coming to Gateway. Where will people sit currently, or where they currently are?
Yes. So if you are not a part of the team that is physically moving to Gateway today or this summer, then you will remain where you currently are, and we will continue to work on that plan. So part of it is how soon are we able to secure, as in be ready to move into new space, and what does that timing look like? We'll have more clarity around that towards the end of this summer. Right now, those plans are still just pretty tentative. So yes, the plan is in the interim that you'll remain located where you are.
I believe we're caught up on questions right now. We have a couple of more minutes for any of you that may have some final questions that you want to try to submit.
And I do want to say thank you. It's your feedback that led to having this session today. Please do let us know if there are other things that you would like us to talk about or to make available. We're happy to do that. We want everyone to feel involved and knowledgeable about the transition as we go through it. And we really do appreciate you providing candid feedback and responses, and we do hope to answer all of your questions. As I said at the top, this session was recorded today, so feel free to go back and listen or recommend to your colleagues who weren't able to participate today that they can either listen to this, or we will plan to do another of these sessions towards the end of June, so they could perhaps listen live at that time. We don't see any more questions, so I'm going to let you all go. Thank you very much for participating, and enjoy your weekend.